Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here, and welcome to another video. Enough decisions have been made in this build now that I can actually put something together. So in this video, I am going to put together the drum, the rolling aspect of this filter, which the water is going to go down over. And yes, again, it was overwhelmingly in favor of having the water pour from the top. So that's what we're going to do. But before I get started into that, by the time this is viewable by you guys, I am going to be into a really big renovation job I need to do. It's going to take up all of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then actually a good chunk of next weekend as well. So I won't be able to answer any comments, most likely, depending on how tiring this is all going to be. So be patient with that. And also, I will probably not post another video until next Wednesday. So there's going to be a little bit of a gap here. And again, there will be a decision to be made at the end of this. It's just not going to take a little while to get to. So let's get on with what's going on here in this build. The first thing you'll notice is one of the decisions I asked you to make was whether this is going to be, a smaller drum or a larger one. And this piece of acrylic tubing is actually neither of those. This is actually the largest piece of acrylic that I can set up and work with in all the current equipment I have. So this is as big as I could possibly make it. I listened to you guys, and they're pretty much the consensus was the bigger the better. So this is as big as that's going to ever get. I mean, I can't actually fit it anything else on the lathe. So this is 5 inches, and it's going to make a really great drum. And one of the reasons why I can go to this size is everyone's decided they want the water to come from the top, or most people anyway. And that gives me the added amount of force that's acting on the drum. As the water comes out of the whatever spray bar or we decide on, it's going to, with gravity, add an extra amount of force that wouldn't exist if this thing were sitting in the water and water was going by it underneath. And also, there won't be the friction of the water slowing it down as well. So I can go bigger, and bigger means heavier and all that sort of stuff. The downside is if you try to take acrylic tubing in this case, and clamp it into a lathe, it's very flexible. Flexible and brittle. And what happens is you try to clamp it down, it just deforms, and you can't get a good grip on it. And that, because we're going so big, this is actually a really big issue. Is I can't get enough of a grip on this to actually do any work on it. So I am making an insert. This is going to be out of 3/4 inch hardwood plywood, and it's just going to fit inside the drum. So when I actually put this in the lathe, I'll have to switch to the other jaws. It will actually be, I'll be able to put enough force on this to actually hold it firmly. And it worked out really well, which is good, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do this at all. So I'm just going to sand it down. Actually, this is one of the few times I've put wood into the lathe. It's, the tools are sharp enough and the lathe's strong enough to easily deal with it, but it's just not something that I work with very often. And it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to fit relatively smoothly and snugly, and there you go, it holds it. So that's all I need to do. So I'm going to clamp this in. Here we go. Put the reverse chucks on here and clamp it down thoroughly. Now I'm going to true up both ends and get rid of the chatter or whatever that's on them from it's a piece of offcut, so you can see that one end there has a bit of chatter on it, and I will make them smooth and true to each other, so that way when I put the rest of this drum together, it will rotate smoothly. So the next step is I need to make 2 caps on the ends of this. So here's the drum. You can see it nice and clean now. But when this is horizontal, and I'm going to put probably sponge on this, but won't get ahead of ourselves here. I need a track for it to run in so that it doesn't either fall off or anyway, you'll get the picture as we go along. So I am going to put on 2 end caps, and that's what these are going to be. And I showed you this little clip because this is the biggest I can actually put this on here, And you can see I had to turn the cutter, actually I had to reverse it completely and grind it down a bit so that I can actually cut from the outside. It was just, like I said, this is as big as I can make it, so this is probably going to be the largest kind of project I can do on here. So here you go. This is going to be one on one side and one on the other side, and then that's it. That's once this gets flipped 90 degrees, that's going to be the roller. That's where everything's going to fit. So what I need to do now is I need to cut a piece of the 1 inch, the one that's going to fit in the hole. It's going to be the axle, or the outside part of the axle. And I need to turn that down a bit so that it will snugly fit in these holes and I don't have to glue it. But I want to be able, again, I want to make sure I can remove this. That's very important. So here we go. I've turned it down. You can see there's a bit of a finish there. And I also put a slight bevel on it, chamfer if you want. And now they'll fit nice and snugly together. And I'll show you what this is going to look like. Well, this is at least at this stage anyway. So there you go. Nice and snug, but it does move and I can take it apart. That's actually really important. And then I'm going to just show you what it's going to, how it's going to fit here. And then what I need to do next is I need to put the brackets that are going to hold the center drum in position. As you see right now, it just flops everywhere. And I have to make sure that that sits in place. And it has, again, I have to make this so that it will actually turn and work without having like any gluing done. So this is your first look at what it's going to look like. It's going to sit about here, and it's going to rotate. And that, like I said, this is as big as I can make it. And I think we're pretty much at a point now where I can ask you what the next question is going to be. I cut the rims on this to so there's 3/4 inch extra. If you remember the Matten filter I built a little while ago, that should fit just inside here, and then like turn and then up, go to either side or whatever. It should fit nicely and be held in place. And that was the reason for doing that. I wanted to make sure it was big enough for that. So your first choice is we can make this a sponge inside, a sponge insert. Now, this is going to be because you're going to have extra time, I'm going to make this a 3-parter. Oh, sorry, 3 choices, and then I'll go with the choice that is the most popular. The next we can do is I can make this, one person's suggestion is kind of cool, I can make this a water wheel. Even though we're not, this is not going to dip in the aquarium at all, or it could, we'll see how that goes. It could be like if the traditional water mills of the wheel that the water goes through, and you can see they got slats in it. We can do that and then have other inserts for that instead of just doing the plain sponge. And the third choice is, I don't know where I'm going to find it, but we can have some sort of corrugated fiber, like the commercial versions of this. It looks kind of like a water wheel, but it's just a filter insert, and that is an option as well. So those are your 3 choices, and that's what you're going to have to figure out between now and next Wednesday, which way you'd like that to go. I've set it up so that the sponge will work, and then obviously the others are just a matter of cutting this down, but like it all comes apart, so it's no big deal. So here you go. This is the inside piece in place now, and you can see how it holds the wheel, the drum part, right where it needs to be. And that's actually cool. I really like this. This design will allow me to take it apart for cleaning. It'll also allow me to take it apart for additional changes. A couple of people had suggested I make it so that there's a water bearing for the shaft that this is going to go on, and that is a possibility. We'll get to those later on. And like I said, I have to be able to take this apart, and that's the important thing. So I'm going to pop the last bit on here, and then I'm going to give it a bit of a compression to hold it together. And then there you go. This is as far as I'm going to get today. And this is the drum for the drum filter. There you go. And that is just nice and smooth. I still haven't decided whether I'm going to use this piece of Delrin or machine another one that's a little snugger. I'm not going to actually get to that part of the build until I've actually put water on this. And that's pretty much the angle that I want the... Oh, sorry. My wife had come down at this point. I was explaining to her how it was worked. That's what all the hand gestures are for. But that's pretty much the angle that the water is going to come at. And I think this is actually going to be a really cool build once it's running. So there you go. It's up and running as far as the basic mechanics. So that those of you who wanted a visual of what this is going to look like, this is it. It's all set and ready to go for that. And all I need for you guys to do now is make your decisions. And the reason why you're looking at this tiny little strip of acrylic is when I built the sled, I was trying to make it as square as possible. And I mean, I did the best job I could, but I was like, you never know, is it really actually perfectly square? And when I finally cut this piece, I was trimming off a piece of acrylic, and see that is just a sliver, and it came off perfectly fine from one end to the other. So that alleviates that concern. It is as square as I can make it for sure. And there you go. If you like this style of video, please like and or subscribe. Definitely leave lots of comments. As I said, I won't be able to get them probably till Monday, but I definitely will get to them. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.